Abortion has always been a touchy, controversial topic. Tensions rise when the topic comes up. It is interesting to see and appreciate each individual viewpoint, from those who have strong opinions for it to those who are extremely against it. It's a tough subject, and I bet you'd agree if we had to make a list of the most difficult things to talk about, you can bet your last dollar that abortion would be near the top of that list. The truth is, deciding to go through an abortion is far from being easy. The psychological effects of that decision leave behind brutal scars. We will discuss 10 psychological effects women may experience surrounding the abortion decision. Anxiety. During pregnancy and after an abortion, your body goes through a ton of hormonal fluctuations that can impact your mood and make you an emotional wreck. As a result, you might find yourself repeatedly analyzing your decision, pondering on what could have been, or worrying about potential regrets. All of this overthinking can easily trigger anxiety attacks that can be crippling, especially when you are unable to adequately process your emotions or unable to openly talk to someone who cares. In this case, you might worry about what your friends, family, or even strangers might think if they were to find out about your abortion. This fear of judgment can make you isolate yourself, which only makes matters worse. Aside leaving a psychological dent, it might start to affect your self-worth, lowered self-esteem, and identity crises. Abortion can have a massive impact on your self-identity and self-esteem, especially when the decision to abort conflicts with your personal values or beliefs. It's practically a tug-of-war between what you feel you had to do and what you deeply believe in. In the end, this internal struggle can lead to a significant emotional fallout. For a lot of folks, personal values and beliefs are deeply ingrained in their self-identity. So when an abortion is at odds with these values, it can create a sense of inner conflict and turmoil. You may find yourself questioning your own beliefs and values, and this can be incredibly distressing. And as if that isn't enough, your self-esteem can also take the hit. This is because your self-esteem is closely tied to how you view yourself in relation to your values and beliefs. When your decision to have an abortion goes against those values, it can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and a sense of betrayal toward yourself, all which are pros at destroying your confidence and self-esteem. Guilt and shame. Depending on your cultural or religious background, there may be strong teachings that characterize abortion as a sin or immoral act. These external influences can intensify your internal struggle and can easily trigger feelings like guilt. Now, by itself, guilt is not inherently destructive, but when it is coupled with shame, it can feel like you're drowning in a pool of negative emotions. These emotions are closely tied to the belief that you've done something morally or ethically wrong. And if care isn't taken, it can slowly eat you up and drain the essence of living. Sexual dysfunction. After experiencing an abortion, it's possible that your sex life may be affected. Some women lose all desire. The emotional and psychological impact of the procedure can manifest in various ways. It's outstanding how many women suffer from sexual dysfunction post-abortion. There are also known cases where women completely become uninterested. Their sexual desire just ceases to exist. According to studies, more than 30% of the women reported a reduction in both frequency of sexual intercourse and sexual desire. Not to mention the lot of psychological effects on this list to add. The emotional stress, guilt, and anxiety that often accompany this experience can be overwhelming. Intrusive thoughts. After having an abortion, it's common to have really strong thoughts that keep coming back, even when you don't want them to. These thoughts might make you remember things or feel upset, and they can stick around for a long time. These thoughts can be a big mix of feelings, like feeling sorry, sad, or maybe even relieved. They can make you feel like you're carrying a lot on your mind, and they're not easy to deal with. These thoughts are okay, and it's normal to have them. They show how complicated the decision-making was and the different feelings involved. Sometimes society or what you think yourself can make these thoughts even harder to deal with. Dealing with these strong thoughts is a journey. It's about recognizing they're there, asking for help when you need it, and finding good ways to work through and deal with these thoughts. Like how scars slowly fade, these thoughts can become less powerful and give space for healing. Remember, these thoughts don't define who you are. They're just a part of a bigger story that changes and gets better over time, especially with help and support. Pent-up anger. It might sound strange at first, but abortion can also leave behind pent-up anger. And this anger can take different forms. It might be directed towards your own self, the person you shared the pregnancy with, or the circumstances that led to the abortion. When the anger is directed at yourself, it usually comes from self-blame and guilt. You might find yourself questioning your own judgment, thinking that you should have made a different choice, or blaming yourself for the situation. It's like an inner argument, where you're holding yourself accountable for the decision. On the other hand, anger can be directed at the other person involved. In this case, you might feel frustrated with them because they played a role in the decision or possibly didn't provide adequate support. This can create tension and conflicts in the relationship, leading to simmering frustrations. Your pent-up anger can also be directed at the circumstances that led to the abortion. You might feel angry at life in general, societal pressures, or the financial constraints that influenced your decision. Whatever the case may be, built-in anger can be very draining, not just for you, but also from those around you. Suicidal thoughts. Getting an abortion done can really be a life-changing experience, so sometimes you might feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. It can be a really traumatizing emotional roller coaster, and in extreme cases, this emotional burden can become so overwhelming that you start having thoughts of self-harm or even suicide. Shame, guilt, and regret can be very consuming when this happens. These emotions can make you feel unworthy, like you're covered in a dark cloud of self-disgust. When these emotions become too much to bear, they can want to end it all as a way to escape the pain. Difficulty coping. Coping with the emotions that follow an abortion can be like walking through a maze while putting on a blindfold, and for very valid reasons. For one, having an abortion means parting ways with something that is a part of you. You might find yourself in a whirlwind of all the emotions we mentioned earlier, including grief, guilt, sadness, anger, and sometimes even relief. These feelings can be complicated and may change over time, making it difficult to find your way through the maze of emotions. To top it off, external factors such as societal and cultural beliefs can heavily influence how you cope. There can be a lot of stigma around abortion in some communities, which makes it hard to talk openly about your feelings or to seek support. The effect of this may not seem like much of a big deal immediately after you get it done, but in the long run, it can have a long-term effect on your mental health. Depression. After an abortion, it's quite common to experience feelings of sadness, and in some cases, even depression. This emotional weight can be especially heavy when the decision to have an abortion was a tough one or influenced by external pressures. For some people, the decision itself can be emotionally challenging. When it feels like you have to choose between yourself and the pregnancy, the emotional turmoil can be quite extreme. One of the tough aspects of depression is that it often leads to feelings of isolation. You might feel that nobody truly understands what you're going through, and even more so when your decision is a secret. It's like being on an emotional island, and this can make the burden even heavier. It's important to find support through people you trust, therapy, or support groups dedicated to this cause. PTSD. In some cases, you might experience post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD, after an abortion. This could result in vivid and disturbing flashbacks that can make you feel as though you're reliving the abortion experience all over again. If the abortion happened to be extremely traumatic, it could leave you battling with this. You may also have symptoms like recurring nightmares that disrupt your sleep, or find yourself in a state of hypervigilance, constantly on edge, and feeling paranoid. Ultimately, not everyone may go through these effects. However, it is very important to take the time to really reflect on your decision and understand your emotions. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to the Mindscope channel. Also, don't forget to share this with those you think could benefit from the information covered. You never know, someone may need to hear something we have shared in this video or others on the Mindscope channel.